Hey guys, Heather with Rapidly Refined, everything you need to refine your skills as a chalk painter. So today I have a special guest with me. Meet Ben. He is the Rafferty behind Rafferty Refined.
Hi guys.
We're going to be doing a furniture makeover together. So we have this kind of like worn out bookshelf. It's just been sitting around collecting dust. I really haven't thought about anything to do with it, but I knew I wanted to do something and just paint, right?
Right.
We just recently celebrated our 1-year anniversary, so we took a week off and we were just chilling and relaxing, and I just could not stop looking at this bookshelf, so we came up with a plan to tackle it. We have something special in store for you guys. I hope that you stick around and enjoy the makeover, so let's go ahead and get started. Team Rafferty! Let's go. The makeover that we're going to be doing with this bookshelf, it required a 1 trip to Lowe's and 1 Amazon order. I have in the Amazon box, we got the little legs. Well, they're not quite little, but we have the legs. We're going to be getting into some painting. We'll be doing the little feet and also getting some paint on that. I'm just gonna give it a quick wipe. And while it's drying, then we can just paint our legs. Today we'll be painting in the color Stormy Seas by Dixie Belle. I really like this color. It's kind of a blue-gray, and it's going to be perfect for one of the details we'll be adding later. Even when it's bare wood, it's still good to go over your piece with a 220 grit sandpaper and give it a scuff sand just to open up those pores to the wood, and this helps your paint adhere better to the surface. I always like to wet my brush a little bit before I start painting, and working that water into the bristles a little bit. This kind of preps your brush before going in with some paint. And while it's a little wet, it's easier to make that paint prolong along the surface and make it so you don't have to keep going back and forth so much. And you can also use water while you're painting too. So basically, water is your friend when you're using chalk paint. When painting furniture legs, you just want to make sure to get all the angles and divots. So don't be afraid to move your brush around and up and down and really take a look and make sure that you're getting all those directions. It still might end up missing a spot or two, but that's what the second coat's for. We just do our best to try to get the coverage that we can the first time. So the one thing I do want to note is that try to make sure that you catch any kind of poolage and drippage that can collect in divots. No matter how thin of paint that you use, sometimes there's just some buildup that happens there. So it's really good to go back and check on that. Other than that, this is a pretty fun and simple process. First coat's on. I stored my brush in a Ziploc baggie so that way the paint won't dry up, and then we can just use it for the second coat and then wash it out. So onto the bookshelf. I'm just going to prep my surface really quick with a 220 grit sandpaper and give it a good scuff sand, and then make sure to dust off all that debris before we go in with our paint. I'll be using a roller to paint with today. If you haven't used a roller with chalk paint yet, it's actually really fun and easy to use. I like working in B motions when I use a roller. It just kind of helps smooth the paint out easily. We are using chalk paint, so it is okay to go and work with some water, and you can kind of tell when you need it. It starts to feel a bit dry. Don't be afraid to use your roller in different ways. You can totally go back and forth and up and down and flip it around to get into different corners and edges. Then I'm just using a brush to fill in where the roller didn't make it. You can paint the border before or after you roll. It really doesn't matter, it's up to preference. So here I'm just demonstrating how it looks before you roll. So this is our first coat. I left the back blank because we're going to be adding some decorative wallpaper in the back for a little interest and pop. So we'll move on to our second coat once this is fully dry. Here's how the legs turned out after the first coat. So I flipped them the other way so I can see all the little spots that I missed. So I'll be painting them in this direction to make sure that we get all those spots. I'm making sure to tilt the leg in different directions and working the brush into the grooves just to make sure I get visuals on all those little spots and make sure that I get full coverage. I'm applying this second coat the same way I did the first. I find that I need to use a little bit more water with the second coat because of the chalk paint on there already. It leaves a bit of a textured surface. So you use that water to help work your roller around. We're all done with the painting. It is all set. 2 coats are on. So now I'm going to go ahead and pass you over to Ben, and he's going to show us how we can spice up this bookshelf with a little bit of trim. So what are we going to be doing?
We're going to start off by cutting the edge of this piece of trim at a 45-degree angle, and then from the back side of that cut, we're going to measure 24 inches for the top front portion of our trim. So we're going to repeat this process a few times for each side that we're going to be working on. We're just going to be changing our angles, and then we're also going to do the same thing with the bottom trim. For the sides here, we're going to measure 10 inches on the back, and then we're going to cut at that same 45-degree angle that we did on the front. Like a glove. Okay, so here's a quick tip for you guys. Always try cutting these kind of pieces from the back, because what happens is the blade will sometimes leave a bit of a mess whenever you make these cuts. And what this will do, cutting from the back, will avoid making any kind of unnecessary blemishes on the front of your piece. So here's a good example of what will happen if you don't cut from the back. This could have been the front if we would have cut from the front instead. With this, we'll be able to easily hide it, so no big deal. Well, here's all the pieces cut, so now we're just going to put them together on the bookshelf.
Hi. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to surprise Ben. We were going to put on the wallpaper and install this when he got home. So I'm going to surprise him and get the wallpaper on. One less thing to do, and I think he's going to be happy about that. Let's get started. Oh my goodness, guys, this is such a pretty wallpaper. Look at this sheen. I'm measuring the width instead of the length because the paper is going to fit better that way on this particular piece. And then I just find those measurements again on the back side of the paper, draw that line, and give it a cut. I remember all the way back in, I think it was like 2nd grade, the teacher would tell me, don't look at the line when you're cutting it, but always look ahead. And I catch myself doing that. If I look down at the line, the scissors are always going in curvy motions. But if I focus and look ahead, then I'll cut the straight line. So all the way from 2nd grade. When you go to install your wallpaper before adhering it to your surface, it's a good idea to just make sure everything is finely tuned. So you can lay it in where you want it to be and then press everything up against those edges. You can use a little tool or a credit card and then go along with an X-Acto knife and cut off all those little bits that are sticking out. When applying it, I like to start off at the bottom and kind of do a pull and press method and just work my way up as I go. Then I just smooth out the air bubbles after it's all laid down and repeat the process. It's looking pretty good. He should be home any minute. So I'm gonna like set everything up how it was when we left it last night. I think he's home. All right, so he has seen the backdrop and we are going to be moving on with installing all the little pieces. So let's go.
Okay, so first what we're going to do is install the legs to this piece, and how we're going to do that is by starting with these metal plates here. What I'm going to do is just figure out where I want the feet to be and then pre-drill those holes. And so now all we need to do is just center the plates and install them with the screws.
All right, so fun fact real quick. So these were the original legs we were gonna go with, but the mounting kit that we had did not include the hanger bolts that were inside. So we had to go get new ones and the ones that already had the hanger bolts inside.
So just remember, next time you decide to buy mounting plates for a piece like this, that you get either legs with the bolts to them, or you do some research to where you find the proper bolts that'll fit the plate to install on the leg, which we did not do, which is why we had to get these.
Moving on.
So here I'm just going to give the edge a quick sand. That way we have something for the glue to adhere to on the surface. Then I'm just going to line up the trim to the bookshelf, and I'm also going to take some measurements from the bottom of this bookshelf to the trim to make sure that both sides line up correctly. Then you just clamp it down and let it dry. And just for some extra reinforcement, I decided to go ahead and put down some tack nails.
We decided to paint the trim in a different color, so we made a little mixture of vintage duck egg and a tiny bit of mint julep. We're going to tag team this together and get it done really quick. So Ben's taking one side, I am taking the other, and we're just going in sequence. I wanted to point something out real quick, that Ben is just grabbing the water naturally on his own and using it. I did not have to suggest it for him. So it's just a natural process with chalk paint. You can tell when you need to use some water. We're starting off on our second coat, and I'm giving everything a nice mist, including Ben. So we're basically just going around and filling in everything that we didn't get the first time, all those little spots that kind of appeared, making sure we got that nice full coverage with that second coat. We both thought that this piece would look good with a wax top coat, so we're going to be doing it in the bear wax, and we're going to be sacrificing my socks today. I like to try to match the fibers to the color of the paint that I'm using, so I'm actually starting out with a lighter sock, and I'm just going along and buffing the wax into the paint. And you can either let this dry and buff it out again, or just kind of just keep it as is. It just depends on the look that you like. Wax is pretty easy to use, and it just really gives a nice authentic look to that chalk paint. Ben thought it would be a nice touch to add some gilding wax to this trim, and I second that. So we are going to go around with some Jolie's gilding wax and add a little pizzazz to this trim. I like working with a brush and my finger at the same time. It gives me enough variety to get that gilding wax in all the right places that I need it to be. So today we're going with a paint gilding wax paint pattern and doing that with the trim and the legs. So I'm working and I'm trying to find that middle point with each of the trim, and then we're also going to carry that down and get a few bands on those legs. So here we have it. So I hope you enjoyed the video on how to turn a dusty old bookshelf into something a little bit more fancy. So if you like furniture makeovers and little tips and tricks on how to refine your skills, please remember to like this video and subscribe to this channel and ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss out when I upload a new video.
I can tell you guys, she really does appreciate all of the support that every one of you give her. She cherishes each and every one of you, so thank you for the support.
Aw, thank you. He's so sweet. Alright guys, so with that said, it was a pleasure doing this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys. Maybe Ben again. I don't know. What do you think? You're gonna come visit us again? Did you like it?
I don't know, this is very stressful.
Did you like it?
I liked it, but I didn't like it at the same time.
Okay, meet Ben. Okay, you gotta do the clap. It helps. So now I'll be passing the torch to him. What is...
That's take one.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Okay.
Hey guys. Or
Yeah, that sounds good.
That was a weird, weird wave. I didn't like the wave.
Oh, you don't like the wave? Okay.
Weird wave.